The answer is it starts with the top. You can't force your staff to want to be on camera, but they can see that you care. And when they see that you care and the owners care and the leadership cares and the managers care, like the point is like you just have to get into the deep end and swim. What is your orange tree story? Yes, you, the listener, the viewer, you have an orange tree story. My name's Shawn Walchef. I presented at the California Restaurant Show to share about our orange tree story. And that is a story that is often overlooked. Something that has happened in your business, something that has happened in your life, something of significance that maybe you have ignored and never shared on video, on social media. I got to present our orange tree story. And after the presentation, I brought up audience members to share their version of their orange tree story. This is their conversation. I want you to think about yours after hearing this episode. Please reach out to me at Shawn P. Walchef and let me know what your orange tree story is. We're just getting started. It's unbelievable that I had Shaquillle O'Neal on my show. It's absolutely unbelievable. And yet it's just the beginning. Like literally, you cannot dream big enough. Wherever your restaurant is located, you have a story, you have a reason, you have an orange tree. You have an orange tree. You have your version of the orange tree. What is that orange tree story? Does anybody have the courage to give me a 60-second orange tree story? Raise your hand. Come on up. Thank you. Perfect. Well, let's get him on camera. This is all on YouTube and repurposed TikTok. Come on up. What's your name?
Kevin Boy from Smart Apron.
Kevin,
Hey,
my man. What's up? How you doing, Kieran?
Good.
All right, let's go. So let's hear your orange tree story.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Hoy. I'm from Smart Apron with my son, Kieran Hoy. So I guess our orange tree story is this. I started a company called Smart Apron. So what it is, it's basically like a new generation of apron. So you can Google it and look us up. So it was probably more than 15 years ago I came up with the prototype. Everything was going great. We made a huge manufacturing purchase over in China. They came over at 20,000 units. Went down to our stores and they started to rip literally 20,000 units. So I'm like, what? So I had to kind of pause it. And my family invested money. We had everybody into our product, that was for sure. So it was probably, Kieran was a junior in high school. And so at that point, I said, you know what? I'm leaving those boxes. They're sitting in the garage. I'm not going to do Smart Apron anymore. Well, so Kieran came.
So I took a lot of business classes in high school. And one of the projects, our final project for my junior year, was we had to make our own product. So I went to my dad. I asked him, hey, you made a product 20 years ago. Why don't I just use the Smart Apron? So we had to research the manufacturing, the retail price, our customers, everything. Long story short, I got an A+ on the project. I had way more information than anyone needed to have at age 16. So then after I did my project, my presentation, all the kids loved it. Their next question was like, where do we buy it? Is this a real thing? Can we use it? Because a lot of them worked in restaurants. They're 16, 17. So then I went back to my dad and I said, why don't we take another shot at it? So that's when I really focused on our brand story, our marketing, really to make it a modern product. And we kind of more focused on the retail and to try and, get a personal connection with our customers.
The question is, how do you get staff that are resistant to do videos to do videos? The answer is it starts with the top. So if I'm not willing to look uncomfortable making barbecue, and when I say making barbecue, I'm terrible at making barbecue. But because I've done it so many times next to Bernice, who's our pit master. So if you go on Cali BBQ's TikTok page or our Instagram page, you'll see we do an open kitchen. So I'm literally with my phone watching Bernice fabricate ribs, watching her prepare brisket. But in the beginning, she wasn't comfortable with me doing that until I started doing it. So you can't force your staff to want to be on camera, but they can see that you care. And when they see that you care and the owners care and the leadership cares and the managers care, now all of a sudden people like Eric, the person that was up here, Eric, my general manager, my business partner, we have this dance where like, I will tell him, Eric, we're making videos today for Toast. And he's like, I'm not doing videos. And like, we'll go back and forth for a whole day until I put the camera in his face and like, Eric, we're doing video. And then he'll do the video and he'll absolutely love it. Like the point is like, you just have to get into the deep end and swim.
I guess I'll take the first shot at it.
You take the first, and it goes back to the equation. Quantity, speed, consistency, eventually will equal quality. But you got to do it every single day. Like it just got to become a habit. You ready? Orange tree story. Man that's ready to start making a lot of videos.
Hi there. My name is Ryan Handel. So I've been in the restaurant industry for 20-something years now. And I opened up my first restaurants back in 2010. And I was able to open up a handful of locations. But the one thing I saw a need for was like, the accounting and bookkeeping. I was sick of all of the outsourced accounting and bookkeeping that was available because I was getting lackluster reporting. It was really expensive. And I was sick of all of the accountants and bookkeepers being antiquated in a way. So right before the pandemic, while I had owned restaurants, I was like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. So I've always been kind of like a numbers dude. And so I was like, let's figure out a way to use software, bring software together into QuickBooks Online, and let's try to streamline the accounting and bookkeeping so that way restaurants can save money and get more transparent financials. We started this back in 2019. Now, fast forward to now, I don't really deal with my restaurants that much anymore. I've got other people that deal with it, but because I'm a restaurant person to start, and I come from the bookkeeping angle, we've been really able to grow at a fast rate because we try to take a very tech-forward approach to the accounting and bookkeeping to save everyone time and money. So ultimately, that's my main business nowadays. That's how I'm starting to work with Shawn. We're called Fix. It's called getmyfix.com. So read into that any way you want. But ultimately, we have a booth right over there, and ultimately that's my main business. I saw a need, started working at it. I get to talk to so many other restaurants and hear their pain points and come from it from like a restaurateur standpoint versus just an accounting standpoint. And that's like our passion. I get to talk to a lot of other restaurant people like yourself. So
Is Kevin Costner coming? Kevin's not coming to promote. If you build it, they will come. If you build a software company, are they going to come and promote it?
Sure, they should. Yeah, it's Get My Fix with an E. So it's like a prefix menu, so F-I-X-E. So come take a look. There's a bunch of us with green shirts running around, but we try to take a tech-forward approach, and it's all coming from pain points that a lot of you have probably experienced at your own restaurant. So hopefully we can see you and shake some hands and build our business.
What I appreciate is that Ryan's willing to do the work. I talk to executives, CEOs, founders all the time, and I tell them about this crazy secret. It's called the internet. The internet. YouTube matters, Instagram matters, TikTok matters, Facebook matters. All of these things that we call social media, no one's going to tell the story like he does. So now he's going to be uncomfortable, and I appreciate you coming up here. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Anybody else have an orange tree story? Here we go. Oh, come on down. Let's hear the orange tree story, my friend.
How are you?
What's up?
I'm Scott Porter with San Diablo Artisan Churros. Has anyone had our churros yet? Okay, so we're at the end here, that black and white booth down there. So my story began when I did an internship in Mexico City a long time ago. I went to this magical little historical district called Coyoacan in Mexico City. They're famous for their street food. They had fresh, filled churros. And it was the first time that I had fresh, filled churros. I lost my mind. I thought, why do we have such mediocre churros in the United States? They always smell and sound better than they actually are. And so, some nods. People are like, yeah. So it was an idea in the back of my head. You know how when we travel, we find really great food, and we're like, why can't we have that back at home? That's what I thought. Years later, about 8 years ago, I decided it was the right time. And so I was like, how are we gonna how am I going to start this? How am I going to launch this? I wanted to start a catering business and an events business. So in Utah, of all places, there's a harvest festival called Corn Bellies. It's a 6-week corn mazes and all sorts of like fun harvest things, pumpkin patch, all that stuff. And so I didn't have the business idea. I saw on their website they were looking for new vendors. And so I contacted them and I said, hey, I see that you guys are looking for vendors at Corn Bellies. And she says, yeah, what do you sell? We didn't have any business plan. Nothing had been set up. I said, artisan filled churros. And she said, oh my gosh, it's been our dream to have filled churros at Corn Bellies. And I was like, baby, your dream's about ready to come true. So then she said, I'm like, that's great. That's what we do. She said, fantastic. Well, how long have you been in business? I said, well, we would be launching at Corn Bellies. And she's like, oh, I could tell on the other end of the phone she was not into it. And I said, listen, why don't we do this? I said, I'll bring you and anyone else that's involved in the business making decision. I'll bring you a full tasting of all the different filling flavors we have and everything. And she said, oh, that's fantastic. We're meeting with everyone and making the final decisions in 3 days. Can you come? And I said, absolutely. And I'm like, never. So I'd only made the recipe twice. We didn't have a brand name, and we had to all of a sudden come up with a business in 3 days. So anyway, I called my friend that had just left her job at Goldman Sachs to be a baker. And I'm like, Mindy, what are you doing all day tomorrow? Because I think I'm starting a churro business and I need your help. So long story short, we did the tasting, came up with the brand name San Diablo, created a website, a look, and invented all these filling flavors in those 3 days. And then we did the tasting. They're like, these are amazing. Do you think you could do 2 stations in Corn Bellies instead of just 1? I said, absolutely. Again, did not have any stations at all. So anyway, 6 weeks later we launched, and then that was about 8 years ago. We've since done about 8,000 events, catering, weddings, parties, fairs, festivals. We're here in Southern California, also in Utah. We have a churro making kit because we want to help you live your best churro lives. And then we also just launched this year a whole line of frozen churros for restaurants and food service, which is why we're here. And so really exciting, really great to be here. We just, we want to fill lives with happiness. We just do it one churro at a time. So please come by and try our churros and see what you've been missing.
The magical thing about that, Scott, so I know Scott, we've met probably 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
This is our second in real life, met at the Chicago National Restaurant Association show, but I learned about his churro story, but I didn't hear that story. And I think it goes to the reason why we are so repetitive. I study comedians. I love Jerry Seinfeld. I love Kevin Hart. I love all the greats, Eddie Murphy, you name it. By the time they get to a big stage, by the time they get to a big stadium, by the time they get to a Netflix special, how many times have they told that same joke? Thousands, tens of thousands. But as owners, we think that once we tell our story, everybody knows. There are people right now eating at Cali BBQ that don't know anything about our orange tree, that don't know anything about me, about my grandfather, about my family, about why we cook barbecue. They don't even know that we have a location at the Navy base. You cannot tell your story enough. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Can't wait to go eat some churros.
San Diablo churros.
San Diablo churros.